forgot to mention as well, but Iran, Stargate 10 site location, it's obviously also connected into Universal Stargate 10 in Vega, Lyra. Then on the galactic Stargate level, which is our solar system, it connects into Pluto. All right, and Pluto, as we know, in astrology is connected and domiciled into Scorpio. And in the Kabbalah, it is Dat. I've seen some models that Pluto is connected into Dat and is otherwise, the higher octave of Mars, the god of war as well, which obviously with the lens of astrology, Scorpio is linked into the galactic plane, the Milky Way galactic plane, which obviously connects into Abadan, which is obviously the location of Stargate 10. Abadan, Iran, the Q site of which is Al Basra, Iraq, which you can see has the number 10 Ark of the Covenant hub gate and the Stargate 10 with the 3 Liberian Daedic Temple illuminati bases there as well. So you can see how this all overlays and connects into the black hole of our Milky Way center, Abaddon and Abaddon, and beyond that, deeper into the infrastructure, the wormhole networks, is Apollyon, which is more on the Anu Elohim Jehovian side of things. Okay, so isn't that interesting that you have Pluto connects into Scorpio, Scorpio connects into the Milky Way galactic center, black hole. It is the occult sign of initiation, and the number 10 is obviously Sayten, which kind of does link into the fallen reptilian omicron draconian races of the Marduk, Drum and Sayten lines of the Anu seraphim, which are primarily heavily encoded with the omicron draconian genetics. So you can see how it all connects, and that's why it's a very important site on planet Earth, because it otherwise does connect into the black hole infrastructure. And the Kabbalah, we have 2 different systems. You have the base 11 Kabbalah, which is the primarily Jehovian Anu Elohim, and the base 10, which is the omicron draconian fallen seraphim races. Okay, and so we have with that the site in Mecca, so all concentrated around this area, right? You've got Islam is obviously one of the spearheads of the Odedicron reptilian omicron draconian satanic influence on Earth. Primarily, I say that because there's hidden influences within each faction, each religion, each secret society, each government, of all these different fallen factions, but one would just have kind of primarily the majority control, right? There'll be sleeper cells of individuals who are more aligned with one fallen faction compared to the other. But if you look at Islam with Mecca is also connected into the Kabbalah, because you have the Kaaba, which is obviously a huge black cube, which they circle around 7 times, which also connects into Saturn. Saturn connects into the black hole center of our Milky Way galaxy, again with the hexagon storm at the North Pole, with the Saturn moon matrix. That is just otherwise the cymatics of the wormhole infrastructure that connects into these fallen planes. And so Islam with Allah is linked into the Kaaba, and if you merge the Kaaba with Allah, you get the Kabbalah. And then obviously in the Judaic texts, you have the God, which is Jehovah, which is also Yahweh, Jehovah, which is very similar to the God in the Protestant Bible denominations, which is Jehovah, Yahweh, okay, which also, obviously they teach the Kabbalah, also that connects into this black hole, black cube worship. And Judaic, they make it quite obvious with their, obviously them wearing black primarily. They have these kind of cubes that they wear on their wrists and on their foreheads. And so you can see how it all connects. The cross on the Bible is otherwise a flat packed cube. Okay, so all of it connects and feeds into this wormhole infrastructure that Saturn and the moon is a part of. But there's various routes that take you to various different locations within that fallen infrastructure network. Okay, but make no mistake, all of it is based on base 10 mathematics and or base 11. The base 11 is primarily linked with the fallen Anu Elohim Jehovian guys of the Anunnaki, that spawned out of them, okay? And then you've got the base 10, which are formerly the fallen seraphim, omicron, draconian, Odedicron, reptilian, okay, and these guys, all right? And then you've got a faction that have blended genetics between those two, which are called the Anu seraphim races, okay? And these guys are otherwise the Thoth-Enki Sephiroth lines, Luciferian lines. You also have the Marduk, Dram, Sayten lines, and the Odedicron, reptilian Enlil lines, okay? So it is a mess in our time matrix, and our planet is really kind of embodying this mess, because it had been a host to help heal these fallen races back through the human template in order to ascend, up and out of here safely, and to try and repair this. But we got to a point where enough's been enough with the damage that's been done, and the failsafe has been triggered. Like basically God source's natural eternal life immunity system has kicked in. So there's a way out, all right? But this is fascinating. So you can get your hands on all this information on arheus.com. This is otherwise a very detailed dissection of all the gate interface sites that you see here on this map, and a little bit more. But it has also coordinates, as you can see here, so exact locations. I've visited a few of these places where the halls of Amenti main stargates are located, and I had experienced a very weird phenomenon whilst there, which otherwise confirmed that these locations are quite significant. And yeah, like you can see here, you've got the Vatican City in Rome. These are all the underground illuminati covert temples and bases where these guys operate, beneath the surface of the earth, in order to influence things on the surface that all wear human masks, okay? And so majority of the guys in power, they probably will be, human, but they've got a predisposition, genetically speaking, to one regressive race or another that allows them easily to be influenced by these entities, which connect into their soul, oversoul, avatar level of identities. And there's also a more sinister race that are on planet called the Fatali, who are influencing people through dark flowering, which goes into body snatching. So yeah, certain celebrities, certain guys in government, even in the corporate structure, probably have been body snatched and or have been mind controlled and pulsed, genetically speaking, based on their predisposition in order to help fulfill certain agendas on the surface, whilst using these vehicles such as governments, corporations, and public figures, celebrities, in order to push their agendas whilst maintaining their clandestine cover. Because like I said before, it's much easier to control humans when they have complete denial programming and have the memory blank slated and no knowledge of our true history, what we once were. So yeah, all these programs can come along, be embedded into our subconscious through the state and religion and creationism with the Darwinism theory and all that bullshit. So their best interest is to stay covert and hidden, but through their technologies like cloaking and shape-shifting and shit like this, they can, in pulsing and psychotronic weaponry, they've had the planet in their hands and all the populations incarnating here with their blank slate technology for a very long time. All right, so it is fascinating. Highly recommend studying, become enlightened. Through knowledge, we can dispel fear, because knowledge equals power, and their only main weapon is actually fear, in order to control us, because that's the currency of control. But you can see here, like even the Vatican City, Rome, right, with one of the bases that is there, which is a central base, I believe, or CS5. It's one of the Stargate 5 or Q-Site 5 locations. And you got them primarily run by the Draconian Dracos, Omicron Draconian, which connects into the base 10 system, similar to Iran as well. And you can see Mexico as well, Thoth-Enki, Jehovian Anunnaki, Regonian Zeta, Jehovian Anunnaki, Mauritius, Omicron Draconian. So you've got all these different groups scattered, right? You've got Machu Picchu in Peru, Palladian, Samjays, Luciferian Anunnaki. So that's part of the Anu Seraphim races, and so on and so forth it goes. So it is truly fascinating. And you've got Bosnia, Draconian Dracos, the Chromaton and Dromi, Men in Black, Nephilim, Marduk, Draman, Anunnaki, Alpha Omega Centaurians, and Archangel Michael broadcast central headquarters. Okay, so yeah, anything relating to Alpha and Omega is also connected into this black hole, fallen, false god-lit collectives and religious doctrines and scriptures. And unfortunately, they've done a very good job at brainwashing most of the population here on the planet through their religions. And if the religion doesn't get you, it's going to be the state through the governments. If those two don't get you, it's going to be the creationism story of Darwinism and this whole agnostic and atheistic existence, when in reality our history is so rich. Technologies we once had prior to the sinking of Atlantis, which was a continent that did exist here, that connected into these gates up in the UK and down here in Florida. Hence why you had the main one here in Bermuda, which now become Bermuda, right? That we were an angelic human eternal life species. And there was 12 tribes located with specific genetics that carried the key codes in our DNA that were obviously positioned in certain locations where the natural universal Stargate systems were, in order to help run the security codes and the clearances into these gates to allow for energy to open flow, come in and backflow to and from God's source, first eternal, with the primary light and sound fields in an eternal life system. But obviously that mathematics got distorted and disrupted through wars and warring and complications with the regressive nature of consciousness and their collectives, which led to wars, which led to damage within the template pillar system. And what we perceive as being our reality within the hologram, matter can be programmed. And so everything that is base 10, base 9, base 11 is falling short of the eternal life imprint that allows you to connect back into God's source in order to receive the eternal flows to sustain your body, sustain eternal life, planets, solar systems, and systems. All right, so stars novaing, supernovaing, planets dying, that's all unnatural. That's all part of the fallout within creation. And creation is huge, but so is our consciousness when we go back up and connect back into our higher identities. All right, and so we can start that process right now. And this is part of the natural ascension, that if people are truly on that timeline, you will be naturally led into the true knowledge of the lost Templar, where it's now found. Thankfully, it's been reseeded here since the fall of Atlantis, and since, well, JC was involved in all that as well, which is a lot of information on. Which they covered up again in 325 AD with the Council of Nicaea. And they're in the job of denying the truth of humanity's origins, because that's very empowering. You can't control populations and keep them as slaves to do your bidding if they're told the truth of who they are, what they're connected into, what they're capable of, which is literally a cosmic doctor, universal, eternal life, interdimensional guardian race that house the security codes for the interdimensional Stargate structure. So it's about time we kind of wakey, right? Certainly I have, but they've certainly done a number on most of the population. But if you're in a human body, you have potential to awaken this dormant possibility within your gene code that the human race was originally created to be. So we can heal. Right? Creation, God source, never presents a problem without a solution. All right, and the solution's on planet. Yes, it has been testing, and we are in testing times because it is the end of the end. Everything's being called back into internal creation. But it's up to each and every one of us to take back responsibility, become accountable, and start taking effective action in regards to ensuring you bypass and outgrow and punch through all of these programmings that are designed to keep you disempowered and subjugated, placated, domesticated, whether it's through like I said, the government, the church, or the state, and or this false scientific doctrine. Okay, the three pillars that they've relied on for so long in order to keep us like sheep, quite literally, the sheeple, the muggles, unawares, placated, tranquilized, vacated. So yeah, it's about time we take our power back, right? And that can only happen when you start seeking the truth. If you bury your head in the sand, that only favors them, and that's going to lead in one direction, taking you back down their black hole when all was said and done. That's the timeline of the fall, is the transhumanist one. It involves AI integrating with technology, becoming cyborg-like, and merging into the artificial reality zones, artificial technologies, artificial timelines, right, that are based off of having to vampire in order to perpetuate their own existence because they live in a finite life, cut off from eternal flows of source reality zones. All right, peace and love.